There is a silence around you that does not mean nothing is happening. It means something is building. Someone has your name resting on their lips right now, and yet they refuse to speak it aloud. Pause there for a moment. Because what you have been sensing in your spirit, what your heart has been trying to tell you in quiet hours, is not your imagination. They want to reach out. They have wanted to for longer than you realize. But something is holding them back. And no, this is not because they do not care. It is because what they feel for you has become too powerful for them to ignore, and too overwhelming for them to handle carelessly. Do not skip this moment in your spirit. Because what is being revealed to you now is deeper than attraction. Deeper than curiosity. Deeper than a passing emotion. This person has stood at the edge of contacting you more times than you know. Their hand has hovered over their phone. Their heart has raced at the thought of hearing your voice. They have imagined the conversation. Replayed it. Rewritten it. Deleted it. Started over. Again. And again. And again. Yet every time they come close, something inside them stops them. Not because they do not want you. Because they want you too much. That is what makes this different. Ordinary people do not tremble before temporary feelings. Ordinary people do not lose sleep over someone who means little. Ordinary people do not stare at old memories, old messages, old moments, wondering if fate is giving them one more chance. But they do. Because somewhere deep inside them, they know you are not ordinary. You entered their life and changed something. Quietly. Completely. Irreversibly. And they were not prepared for that. Listen carefully. The thing holding them back is not a lack of love. It is fear. Fear of saying the wrong thing. Fear of reaching out too late. Fear that your heart may no longer be open. Fear that someone else may have taken the place they still dream of having. Fear that if they contact you and it goes wrong, they may lose the final piece of hope they have left. And hope. Hope has become the most dangerous thing in their heart. Because hope keeps them thinking about you. Hope keeps them checking for signs. Hope keeps them wondering if maybe, just maybe, you still feel this too. Something huge is waiting beneath this silence. Because the truth is, they are fighting a battle you cannot see. Part of them says, reach out now before it is too late. Another part says, what if I ruin everything? And while that war continues inside them, you experience the silence. You wonder why nothing is happening. You question what you felt. You ask yourself if it was ever real. But hear this clearly. Silence does not always mean absence. Sometimes silence means someone feels so deeply that they do not know how to approach what their heart cannot control. That is where they are. Caught between desire and hesitation. Between longing and uncertainty. Between the urge to run toward you and the fear of being turned away. There is more. Because the obstacle in front of them is not only internal. Someone around them has spoken doubt into their mind. Someone has told them to be careful. Someone has warned them not to get hurt. Someone has convinced them that reaching for what they truly want may end in disappointment. And for a while, they listened. For a while, they let other voices become louder than their own heart. But even then, even with distance, even with doubt, even with delay, they could not erase what they feel for you. You remained. That is what keeps unsettling them. No matter how much time passes. No matter how much they distract themselves. No matter how hard they try to move logically instead of emotionally. You remain. Still in their thoughts. Still in their chest. Still in the private corners of their heart they show no one else. Do you understand how rare that is? To remain in someone's soul even when they try to forget? To linger in someone's spirit when distance should have erased you? That does not happen by accident. That happens when the connection was never shallow to begin with. And now, they are reaching a breaking point. Because the weight of unsent words is becoming heavier than the fear of speaking. The pressure of missing you is becoming stronger than their excuses. The ache of wondering, what if, is becoming unbearable. Something is shifting. Can you feel it? That restless energy around you. That strange pull in your chest. That sense that something is about to happen. You are feeling it because the silence is nearing its end. They cannot keep holding this forever. No one can suppress real emotion forever. Eventually the heart overrides the fear. Eventually longing becomes louder than pride. Eventually missing someone becomes impossible to hide. And when that moment comes, they will not be able to remain distant. Not after everything they have felt. Not after every night spent thinking of you. Not after every opportunity they let slip away. Not after realizing that losing you completely would hurt more than risking rejection. That realization is arriving faster than you think. But before they move, there is something you must understand. When they finally reach out, it will not be casual. It will not be random. It will not be meaningless. It will come after internal battles you never witnessed. After emotional walls collapse. After fear loses its grip. After they decide that a chance with you is worth the risk. And when someone reaches you after fighting that kind of battle inside themselves, they do not come lightly. They come seriously. They come intentionally. They come because their heart left them no other option. So if you have been wondering whether this connection was one-sided, it was not. If you have been wondering whether they think about you, they do. More than they admit. If you have been wondering whether they want to reach out, they do. Desperately. But the reason it has not happened yet is because this means more to them than they know how to handle. Let that sink in. Sometimes the deepest feelings create the longest hesitation. Sometimes the strongest connections produce the greatest fear. Sometimes the person who loves hardest takes longest to act. Not because they do not care. Because they care enough to fear losing it. Stay alert. Because the energy around this is changing. The hesitation is cracking. The walls are weakening. And the message they have been holding inside the truth they have tried to suppress, the confession they have rehearsed in silence, may arrive sooner than expected. Not because time forced them, because their heart finally refused to stay quiet. And when that happens, everything changes. Because some silences are not endings. They are merely the final pause before destiny speaks. And yet the most surprising part of all is that the silence between you has not been empty. It has been filled with unsent messages, restrained emotions, and moments where they almost chose courage. Do not skip this part. Because what is happening in their heart right now is more intense than you realize. They have reached the point where pretending no longer works. Pretending they do not miss you no longer works. Pretending they are unaffected by your absence no longer works. Pretending they can simply move on has failed them more times than they can count. Every distraction they tried led them back to thoughts of you. Every attempt to forget only made your memory louder. Every effort to deny what they feel made their heart rebel even more. That is why their inner world has become so restless. Because now they are living in contradiction. Their mind tells them to stay guarded. Their heart begs them to come closer. Their pride tells them to wait. Their emotions tell them they have waited too long already. And this battle is exhausting them. Something huge is waiting on the other side of this silence. Because when a person spends too long suppressing what they truly feel, eventually the truth breaks through. Not softly. Not gradually. But all at once. That moment is approaching for them. You may not see it yet. You may not hear it yet. But behind the scenes, their resistance is collapsing. There have been nights when they stared into darkness replaying your energy in their mind. Moments when a song reminded them of you unexpectedly. Times when they saw someone who looked like you from a distance and their heart skipped before logic returned. Moments when your name appeared somewhere random, and their entire mood shifted. That is not coincidence. That is attachment they have not conquered. That is emotion they have not escaped. That is a soul still pulled toward yours whether they admit it or not. Listen carefully now. What is truly holding them back is not just fear of rejection. It is the awareness that once they speak, nothing can go back to the way it was. Once they reach out, everything changes. The mystery changes. The distance changes. The emotional tension changes. And deep down, they know this is not a small conversation. This is not a casual message. This is not a meaningless interaction. This is the kind of moment that shifts two lives. That realization terrifies them. Because some people are not afraid of love itself. They are afraid of the power love has to transform everything. And that is exactly what they feel with you. Transformation. Intensity. Meaning. Wait. You are not someone they can approach half-heartedly. That is why they hesitate. They know if they step toward you, they will step fully. They will feel fully. They will risk fully. And for someone who has been hurt before, that is not easy. Do not mistake delay for disinterest. Sometimes delay is proof of depth. Sometimes hesitation is proof that feelings are real enough to matter. Sometimes the person who pauses longest is the one feeling most deeply. They are trying to appear composed, trying to act unbothered, trying to maintain control. But inside they are unraveling. Inside they are wondering if you still think of them. Inside they are questioning whether you have waited, or whether they have already lost their chance. Inside they are haunted by one question over and over again. What if I stay silent too long, and someone else reaches them first? That thought has begun disturbing their peace. Because now the possibility of losing you feels real. And when loss becomes real, action begins. This is where everything shifts. Because they are starting to realize that fear may cost them more than courage. That hesitation may hurt more than honesty. That silence may destroy what speaking could save. And once a person reaches that realization, their behavior changes. They begin watching more closely, thinking more deeply, planning more seriously, preparing emotionally, working up the courage they lacked before. You may notice subtle signs. Unexpected energy. Repeated synchronicities. Dreams that feel too vivid. A strange sense of anticipation in your spirit. Pay attention. Because when souls prepare to reconnect, the atmosphere changes before the action does. And your spirit often senses it first. Something huge is waiting for you. Because the message they have held back, the truth they have buried, the emotions they have hidden behind silence, are reaching the surface. There may still be one final hesitation. One final moment where fear tries to pull them backward. One final voice in their mind asking, what if this goes wrong? But their heart has an answer now. Their heart is saying, what if this is the person I was never meant to lose? That thought is changing everything. Because once someone begins to fear losing you more than they fear vulnerability, the walls start falling fast. Very fast. And when those walls fall, words rush out that have been trapped for far too long. Confessions come suddenly. Unexpected contact happens. Emotions spill in ways even they did not plan. That is why this silence may end more dramatically than you expect. Not with a casual hello. Not with shallow conversation. But with intensity. With honesty. With emotion they can no longer contain. Because they are not just reaching out to talk. They are reaching out because they cannot carry this inside anymore. And when someone reaches that point, nothing stops them. Not pride. Not fear. Not timing. Not distance. Nothing. So hear this clearly. Their silence was never the end of the story. It was the pressure building before the breakthrough. It was the pause before the confession. It was the quiet before everything changed. And now, the version of them who stayed silent is slowly disappearing. The version of them who overthinks every emotion is losing control. The version of them who kept waiting for the perfect moment is realizing there may never be one. Only now. Only courage. Only truth. Prepare your heart. Because when they finally speak, it may happen suddenly. At an unexpected hour. On an ordinary day. In a moment that seems small at first. Until it changes everything. And when that moment comes, you will understand why the silence lasted so long. Because some messages take time to form. When they come from the deepest part of someone's soul. The distance was never because they forgot you. The delay was never because they stopped caring. The silence was never because the connection faded. It was because they were trying to survive feelings they did not know how to handle. But now? Now those feelings are becoming stronger than their fear. And when emotion becomes stronger than fear, movement begins. Stay till the end of this journey. Because the next chapter of this story will not be silence. It will be revelation. It will be truth. It will be the moment hidden feelings become spoken reality. And when their voice finally reaches you, it will carry every emotion they were too afraid to say before. But here is what no one tells you about a heart that waits too long. The longer someone suppresses true emotion, the stronger that emotion becomes. What they tried to bury has not weakened. It has deepened. What they tried to silence has not faded. It has multiplied in the quiet. Do not skip this moment. Because what is happening now is the final stage before everything changes. They are no longer simply thinking about reaching out. They are imagining what happens after. They are picturing your reaction. Wondering if your voice will sound warm. Wondering if your heart will still soften when they speak. Wondering if the connection they still feel will still exist the moment you answer. That uncertainty is shaking them. Because for all this time, they believed distance would make their feelings smaller. But distance did the opposite. It made them understand your value. It made them realize how rare your energy truly was. It made them see that not everyone leaves a mark the way you did. Some people enter a room and are forgotten. Some people pass through a life and disappear like a season. But you remained. Even in your absence. Even in silence. Even in distance. You remained. And that is what changed everything for them. Because they finally understand this truth. You were never just someone to them. You were the person who made ordinary moments feel significant. The person whose energy stayed with them after every interaction. The person whose absence created a space no one else could fill. Something huge is waiting for you. Because they are beginning to accept something they resisted for a long time. That their life does not feel the same without you in it. And once someone realizes that, silence becomes unbearable. They can distract themselves from thoughts. They can hide emotions from others. They can pretend. They can delay. But they cannot permanently live with the ache of missing what their heart still wants. That ache is becoming impossible for them to ignore. There are moments now where your memory hits them unexpectedly. And instead of pushing it away, they stop. They sit in it. They let themselves feel it. And in those quiet moments, truth reaches them. Truth says, you still love them. Truth says, you never let go. Truth says, if you stay silent now, you may regret it forever. That truth is changing them. Because regret frightens them more than rejection now. Read that again in your spirit. Regret frightens them more than rejection now. That means their fear is losing. That means their hesitation is weakening. That means their heart is preparing for action. But before they come forward, there is one final thing they must overcome. Pride. The pride that told them to wait. The pride that told them not to look vulnerable. The pride that whispered, if they wanted you, they would come first. That pride has delayed many beautiful things. But pride cannot survive forever in the presence of real love. Eventually love exposes pride for what it is. A shield. A mask. A wall built by fear pretending to be strength. And their walls are beginning to crack. The version of them that tried to stay detached is fading. The version of them that pretended not to care is collapsing. The version of them that thought silence was safer is realizing silence has only brought pain. That realization is powerful. Because once someone understands that their silence is costing them the person they truly want, they stop protecting their ego. They start protecting the connection. That shift changes everything. Do you feel how close this is now? Do you feel how the energy is tightening? This is no longer distant possibility. This is approaching reality. They are replaying old moments between you. Rereading hidden signs. Re-examining every conversation. Trying to determine whether your heart gave clues they were too afraid to trust. And the more they think, the more convinced they become that this connection was never random. That what they felt was real. That what exists between you deserves to be explored. And that if they do not act soon, they may lose something irreplaceable. That fear is pushing them forward. Not backward. Forward. Toward honesty. Toward courage. Toward the conversation they have postponed for too long. Stay till the end. Because this next part matters deeply. When they reach out, it may not begin with a perfect confession. It may begin awkwardly. Carefully. Nervously. Because when someone has carried deep feelings in silence for a long time, even simple words become heavy. Even hello carries emotion. Even small conversation hides deeper meaning. So listen beyond their first words when they come. Because beneath whatever they say first will be the truth they struggled to hold inside. I missed you. I thought about you constantly. I never forgot what this was. I was afraid. I wanted to come sooner. That is what their spirit has been trying to say all along. And when the truth finally leaves their mouth, it will release everything they have held back. The silence. The longing. The fear. The tension. The waiting. All of it. In one moment. In one conversation. In one brave decision. Do not misunderstand what is unfolding here. This is not random emotion. This is not temporary fascination. This is not fleeting attraction. This is someone standing at the edge of emotional surrender. Someone on the verge of admitting what their heart has known for a long time. Someone preparing to risk vulnerability because losing you feels heavier than protecting themselves. That is rare. That is powerful. That is unforgettable. And when it happens, you will see clearly why the waiting felt so intense. Why the silence felt so charged. Why your spirit kept sensing something unfinished. Because it was unfinished. Because the story between you was never over. It was only paused. While courage caught up to love. And now courage is catching up. Faster than ever. Their heart is louder now. Their fear is weaker now. Their excuses are running out now. Their silence is ending now. The moment they reach for you, the entire energy of this connection transforms. The mystery becomes truth. The wondering becomes knowing. The silence becomes confession. And the feelings once hidden in shadows step fully into the light. Prepare yourself. Because the person who has been holding back is not going to remain silent much longer. They have fought their feelings. Denied them. Buried them. Questioned them. But they could not erase them. And now they are learning what everyone eventually learns. What is meant for the heart will always find its voice. And when silence can no longer contain what the heart feels, everything changes at once. Not slowly. Not carefully. Not in half measures. Because when someone spends this long fighting emotion, the moment they finally surrender to it becomes unforgettable. Do not skip this final part. Because this is where the truth hidden behind every delay is revealed. They are no longer asking themselves if they should reach out. That question has already been answered in their heart. Now they are asking something far more serious. How do I explain why I waited so long? Because they know when they come forward. They cannot pretend this was casual. They cannot act like they were unaffected. They cannot hide the depth of what they have felt. Too much time has passed. Too much emotion has built. Too much longing has accumulated in silence. And now the truth is too large to disguise. They are preparing themselves for vulnerability. Preparing to lower their guard. Preparing to show the part of themselves they kept hidden. And that is not easy for them. Because people who feel deeply often hide deeply. People with the strongest hearts sometimes wear the strongest armor. But armor becomes heavy when someone is tired of pretending. And they are tired now. Tired of missing you in silence. Tired of wondering what could have been. Tired of replaying possibilities in their mind instead of creating reality. Tired of carrying emotions they can no longer deny. Something huge is waiting for you. Because what is coming is not impulsive. It is not temporary. It is not shallow. This is someone who has spent enough time in silence to understand exactly what you mean to them. And when a person has had time to fully realize your value, they approach differently, more intentionally, more seriously, more honestly. That is why their return will not feel random. It will feel deliberate. Because it is. They are not coming forward out of loneliness. They are not reaching because of boredom. They are not speaking because they have no other options. They are coming because after all this time, their heart still chose you. Think about that. After distance. After fear. After doubt. After silence. After every excuse their mind created. Their heart still chose you. That is the truth behind this entire story. Not convenience. Choice. Not pressure. Choice. Not confusion. Choice. They chose you in silence before they ever choose you in words. And now those words are getting closer. Very close. There is a final storm happening inside them. One last surge of nerves. One last moment of overthinking. One last attempt by fear to whisper, "Wait a little longer." But their heart is answering differently now. Their heart is saying, "No more waiting. No more wondering. No more pretending. No more watching from a distance while the person I care for drifts further away." That is the energy of someone about to act. And when they do, the message may arrive when you least expect it. The call may come at an ordinary moment. The conversation may begin simply. But underneath that simple beginning will be months of hidden emotion. Months of restraint. Months of unsaid truth finally breaking free. Stay till the end of this story in your spirit. Because when they finally reach you, you will hear it. Not just in their words, but in their energy. You will hear the hesitation of someone who cared too much. You will hear the nervousness of someone who risked their pride. You will hear the honesty of someone who finally chose courage over fear. And most of all, you will hear the emotion of someone who never truly stopped feeling for you. This is why the delay happened. Not because the connection lacked depth, but because it had too much. Not because they felt nothing, but because they felt more than they knew how to manage. Not because you were forgotten, but because you became unforgettable. That is what made this so difficult for them. You mattered too much to approach carelessly. You meant too much to risk casually. You touched something in them they could not explain. And now, that truth is forcing them toward you. There will be no more pretending after this. No more uncertainty. No more wondering whether they cared. Because their actions will answer every question their silence created. The reaching out you have sensed. The confession you felt coming. The shift your spirit kept noticing. It was real all along. Because some people do not walk away when they love deeply. They pause. They hesitate. They overthink. They delay. But eventually, if the feeling is real enough, they return. And this person is returning. Not because fate pushed them, because their own heart would not let them stay away any longer. So when the moment comes, when their name appears before you, when their message finally arrives, when the silence that lasted so long suddenly breaks, remember this. It took everything in them to get there. Every fear battled. Every doubt challenged. Every wall broken. Every excuse destroyed. Just to reach the point where they could finally tell you what their heart has known for far longer than their lips admitted. That you mattered. That you stayed with them. That they could not let this go. And that no matter how long they delayed, their soul kept leading them back to you. Because some connections are too powerful to remain unfinished. Some feelings are too deep to stay hidden forever. Some people are too important to lose through silence. And some hearts, no matter how stubborn, eventually surrender to the truth. Their heart has surrendered. Their silence has ended. Their feelings have won. And now, the only thing left is for them to finally reach your door with the truth they were always meant to speak.